The Ogre Horde has returned from the 90s, with a new challenge for any brave heroes. I know I'm still behind with HeroQuest news, and there is still Jungles of Delthrak and First Light stuff to deal with. I'm still getting through my backlog very slowly. At Luca Comics and Games, the box art for Against the Ogre Horde was revealed. Just like all their other kind of gaming conventions they've been to, they had excellent set dressing. I always am a sucker for kind of props and things like that. Just makes things a lot more immersive. And they had painting stations set up too, like the previous one. I like this arch representing the doorway, it's pretty cool. There was a rumor of the cancellation of Against the Ogre Horde. I guess some people's orders were cancelled or something. It was happening kind of around the time that the future for HeroQuest was uncertain, based upon the layoffs and the things that was going on with Hasbro in December, but thankfully Avalon Hill said it wasn't cancelled, everything was fine, and people got their sets eventually. Another interesting thing with this expansion is that somehow the back of the box leaked because there was an eBay listing way before the release. That sale didn't go through though, and we still had to wait to open the boxes until the expected time, and it was Always Bored Never Boring who reported on this initially. Now let's take a look at the listing on Hasbro Pulse. We have our big King Ogre, looks like another one right there, another special one to his right as well. Smaller Ogre right there. Orc Archers, that's pretty cool, and some kind of maybe shaman looking figure, I'm not sure. Next we have a big view of all the contents of the box, including our druids, which I'll get to shortly, as well as the animal companion. I really like the look of this stone throne. I think the plastic furniture is a lot better than the cardboard, even though it has brought up the price point for HeroQuest, just in general. So it looks like we have 3 skeletal archers there, 2 druids, an animal companion, looks like bomb-throwing goblins, as well as boomerang ones. That's kind of interesting, and not something I don't think we've seen in HeroQuest before, at least not represented in miniatures. And the boat orcs we saw previously, and these guys with bone clubs. You may have noticed that yes, we did in fact get the druid in this expansion. This was the 3rd mythic tier hero that did not appear in Spirit Queen's Torment or Prophecy of Tellar, and I think that Avalon Hill did an excellent job with this. While there wasn't anything really too wrong with that previous version of the miniature, it seemed more like somebody's D&D character, which I believe it actually was, rather than kind of an old forest druid that you might find in other fantasy, like novels or things like that. And I also think that the inclusion of the animal companion there, the 1 tile square wolf, is actually another good addition too, because all the previous wolves that we've seen in the game have taken up 2 tiles. That eye tile is kind of interesting, it looks like some kind of mosaic. This, I believe, is the tournament, which I will get to. Dread spells are always fun to use against your heroes. This picture gives us a top view perspective of all the tiles, and you can also see some of the cards here. You have the wolf stats, 10 movement, 3 attack dice, diagonally too, nice, 2 defend dice, 5 body points, 1 mind point, and skeleton archer, 6 movement, 2 attack dice, with some conditions for that, 2 defend dice, 1 body point, and 0 mind points because it's undead. That makes sense. And yes, this is in fact the tournament, and those look like some kind of special symbols. You have potions, as well as you have the huge throne. You have these huge gates that I believe they can lift up. I'll have to double check that. And you just have a bunch of different other stone doors. Goblins, orc archers, skeleton archers are over here. Druids, their animal companion. 3 of the massive ogres, and looks to be 4 of the smaller ones, normal size ones, I should say. And yeah, druid spells obviously. Oh, they changed the card back on this. That's interesting. I guess because there are 2 druids, so they probably didn't want to print out 1 for each of them, the male and female. I would assume that this is basically the same as the other druid cards, just they might have changed up the wording to be a little bit more clear. The Dominate Dread spell is also here. The attacker and defender each roll combat dice equal to their mind points. If the attacker scores at least 2 skulls, the spell succeeds. The attacker may immediately take the defender's movement and action. At the end of the attacker's turn, the spell ends. That's really cool. So it's kind of more like a battle of the wills between the hero and Zargon. The wolf is a faithful animal ally. Before a hero begins a quest with fewer than 4 hero players, they may recruit an animal ally to accompany them. The wolf is bonded to 1 hero and takes their turn immediately following the turn of their allied hero. They can move, attack, defend, but cannot perform other actions, use potions, or open doors. What, you mean to tell me that the wolf with no hands can't open doors? Who would have guessed? And we also have Ogre Warrior stats. From what I've heard of the community, they have changed the stats on ogres just to make them 5 body points instead of 10, but if you really want to, you can just say that it's 10, as long as your group agrees, of course. 6 movement, 5 attack, 4 defend, 5 body points, 1 mind point. And as far as I can tell, the online PDF for this quest book is still in German, so thankfully there's this person on Reddit who had posted the English version, and I'm just going to take a look. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's also been enough time that I think other people have compared kind of unboxings compared to the old version, so I'm not going to look at Ye Olde Inn for that either. but I still want to look at the tournament rules because that is something that was not in the original version. You have a little bit of lore there, contents of course, instructions for Zargon about how swinging blade traps work. Interesting artwork there, kind of in a similar style as those lore videos have been. Oh, they even have rules for unthreatened movement, that's cool. That's kind of been a home rule, so it's nice to see it actually in print too. And there's a fair amount of detail in this artwork too, just between the different bolts and things that hold up their armor, and the different skulls and horns that they are adorned with. They look quite good. Rules, of course, for ranged enemies, how different types of weapons work. Oh, I didn't know that ogre mercenaries were in this, huh? Animal allies, which they did playtesting with one of the online quests, and now it's actually in the game. Ooh, I really like that artwork there. That's pretty cool, of the wizard fighting against the dread sorcerer, and just kind of showing the different rules, how that works. World's End Tournament. So the first 3 quests of the quest book take place in that tournament, place where warriors gather to test their mettle, and this is exactly the teaser that we got with the monk hero, as well as the lead up to this quest pack being released. You put one team there, place another team there, and there's a central battlefield. It seems like it's turn-based fully rather than having, you know, one player go and then Zargon moves all the monsters. It seems like you move one monster and one hero kind of at the same time, and you just kind of keep that cycle up until one team's defeated, and the team left standing is the one that wins. You can also do solo combatants. You can do different types of treasure with varying things that can happen depending on the result of your dice rolls. Oh, that's cool. They have some kind of tile to represent a hero's loot when they die. That's neat. Kind of like a grave marker in Valheim or something like that. I should mention that with this tournament taking up the first 3 quests, you could just start at quest 4 to play kind of the original 1990 version. There's trophy tiles as well. Burst of speed. Oh, that's cool. Combatant may discard any trophy tile to add 2 squares to their movement. And then you also have combat tiles, which you can add dice to your roll. Potion tiles as well, which they have the druid here beside it. I really like how he looks old and really kind of fed up with the world. I imagine that you would get pretty jaded if Zargon's invading your lands. There's riposte tiles as well, and instructions on playing the tournament outside of quests. Oh, that's cool. They have attack dice kind of build up your team power so you can balance stuff. That's neat. Oh, there's even safeguard things. That's pretty cool. And they've got different rosters and rule pages. I have not really looked too closely into what each of these ogres are. So the Ogre Lord is the one that I call the king. Ogre Champion is the one that looks more like a gladiator. And the Ogre Commander is the one that's adorned in a lot of the bones and things that I saw earlier. Ogre Warrior is the standard one. Goblin Archer, Orc Archer, and Skeleton Archer. Something else I haven't mentioned in my other video is the fact that the companion app has been updated over the last year. In August, they added Rise of the Dread Moon, they did bug fixes. In December, they added Prophecy of Teller, the online quest, which is Nightfall, as well as the monk character. On March 4th this year, they added Spirit Queen's Torment. More bug fixes, of course, they added Against the Ogre Horde. Another intriguing thing that happened since my absence, besides the other 2 quest packs that I haven't addressed, is that Avalon Hill has worked with Games Workshop to bring back Talisman, which is another one of these old fantasy board games. Besides Jungles of Deltharak and HeroQuest First Light, this is all the HeroQuest news for now, and I should hopefully eventually catch up to where the news actually is, and then it could actually be news instead of old. Thanks for watching, goodbye.